Alright, so now we're going to go into our scene here, and we're going to create another emitter off the chopper itself, and we're going to emit some extra smoke as it comes crashing down. So to do that, we're going to cache out this geometry as an alembic. So if you select the geo and press up on the keyboard, that'll select the group. Let's go up to cache, alembic cache, and export selection. And you can see I've already cached it out there. So we can just create a new one. Let's call it just chopper 2. And we just want to make sure to cache out UV's right world space and visibility. So let's just cache that out. And this will just take a second. There we go. So now let's import that. There we go. So now we can see, I'm not sure what this is going on in the viewport. It doesn't seem to be some sort of lag or something, but it is indeed the right cache. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to hide the chopper, and I'm just going to want to emit, for this I just want to emit from maybe the back half of the main body. So we can just kind of choose what we want to emit from. And so I'm just going to blast away this and some other things that I just want to emit from. Relatively simple things. And the idea is we're just going to combine all these into one element and then have all of these as one element to emit from. There we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shift select what we need here, and I'm going to go mesh combine. So now we have it here, and it's all combined, and I'm just going to shift select the rest of the geo that we forgot, the windows there, delete that, and I'm just going to delete away the faces that I don't want to emit from. So that's the nice thing about Alembic. So doing this with really high polygon meshes won't really work very well because it is a bit heavy to do. But if you got some proxy geometry that most likely you would have to do these high simulations with, you'd have some lower geometry, and we can just combine that and delete away what we don't want. But when it gets to heavier scenes, you're going to have to select individually the objects that you want to emit from and add those in individually. But for this, we're going to do it all in one. So I'm just going to rename this chopper body. And so I'm going to apply a surface shader. Let's just turn the hardware texturing on to highest. And let's just map a noise texture. And this is what we're going to emit our smoke from. So I'm just going to increase the amplitude and lower the billow density. So obviously anywhere that's white is going to, that's where it's going to emit from. And that's pretty much it, really. Maybe lower the frequency, something like that. And lastly, I'm just going to set an expression, time equals time. So it's going to change the noise map once over time. So that'll just make it move around and give it a bit more interesting emission. So we pretty much just have a random texture emitting smoke that's changing over the course of the geometry. Now we're going to create a, we can unhide this, let's just hide these. Now we can create a object emitter, and I'm going to turn on shell and free flow again, because we want to emit from the outside of where the normals are pointing outwards. So shell is going to work well for this. It's not a solid object. And also free flow, we don't need the collisions on this. We just want to take the velocity from the emitter, and we'll have that add to the velocity of the fluid. And let's just make the rate, let's just make sure our FumeFX container is starting at 10. We don't actually need to sim the first 10 frames here. So let's turn that on at 10. And so we're going to disable fuel, oxygen, and temperature. And let's just have smoke on. Now for smoke, we just want, I want to emit maybe not a ton of smoke, but maybe about half of the default here, about 1. And let's just key that on. Let's change our map source to intensity. And this is where we point to our noise map for the noise emission. So if we direct this to our noise texture here, there we'll find the texture on our object. So this is what's actually going to emit from the white in the values of smoke. So by frames, say 60, let's key this off to 0. So now there's going to be a lot of velocity going in the direction of the chopper, obviously, and I don't want it to trail with a velocity of 1. So I'm going to lower the object velocity to 0.15, and so it's going to leave a lot of the dust behind. It's not going to catch up so much. And if it had a really high velocity, object velocity, it would make the whole effect look a lot smaller. So by turning it down, we make the whole effect look a little bit bigger. And also, I'm going to increase, now I'm going to leave the normal. This is how it's going to push off and out, how it's going to push off of the shell here, but I'll leave it at 0.1. And that's pretty much it. And the turbulence, let's increase this to 1. This will be a little bit more of a lot more turbulent off the chopper, and let's lower the scale. So it'll just be more of a turbulent emission off the chopper. Okay, so now let's add that into our container. There we go. And also let's just make sure that in the animation editor we have a linear curve here instead of maybe a spline or something like that. So it's dropping consistently. Okay, so now we're just going to take a sim of this and let's see what we get. Alright, so we have our final simulation here. It's looking pretty great. A lot of great build up in the beginning. It's nice and fast and then it dies off nice. So this is going to go great along with our initial trails explosion. So in the next clip we're going to fine-tune this simulation and we're going to add some extra particle velocities in different directions and adjust the collisions a little bit, and hopefully we can get a little bit better of some dynamics, and we'll set it off for a high simulation.